very good evening and welcome to News Tonight on Rajya TV. My name is Aishwarya Kapoor. Well, demonetization continues to be our top focus. Now, government has said that withdrawal restrictions will be relaxed once 80% of the new currency is remonetized. This even as Parliament was disrupted yet again due to the opposition uproar on demonetization. Well, that and much more in the bulletin in the next half an hour. Let us begin with the headlines. 50% or 7.5 trillion rupees worth of remonetization is complete, says government. Limits on cash withdrawals to be eased after 80% of the new currency is introduced into the system. Mega prices await buyers and sellers in the big cashless push. The National Institute for Transforming India AIADMK announces the reward schemes from 1,000 to 1 crore rupees. Opposition and government spar on issues from demonetization to the Augusta Westland scam and farmer distress. Both houses adjourned over frequent disruptions. And AIADMK announces V.K. Sasikala will be elected as its General Secretary. The late Chief Minister J. Jayalalitha's closest aide will be the party's first leadership change since 1989. Well, highlighting the actions taken against black money, Economic Affairs Secretary Shaktikanta Das on Thursday said that government is making all efforts to stabilize the cash crunch in the country post-demonetization. He also said that 50% of the remonetization has been completed since 8th of November. Here are the details.
The government will soon start easing restrictions on cash withdrawals in a first since the announcement to demonetize 500 and 1,000 rupee notes. The restrictions will come into force once 80% of the new currency is rechannelized through bank deposits. The restrictions on cash withdrawals will be first eased in the case of cooperative banks and then for all scheduled commercial banks. The government also said, as of now, 50% of the deposits in banks are in the new currency, which shows that the money is gradually being remonetized. All restrictions will be withdrawn once the situation stabilizes.
The situation has been constantly improving day by day. Steadily it is improving, and as we went by, the more and more production lines have now been diverted for printing 500 rupee notes, because there is we have enough number of 2,000 rupee notes which have already been supplied, and there is enough number of stock which is available. But the printing of 500 rupee notes have now been significantly stepped up, and it is being pushed into, it is being sort of supplied to the market.
Speaking on possibility of counterfeiting of new notes, the government said the number of new 500 rupee and 2,000 rupee currency notes is very less, and that they are also completely indigenous.
This is the first time that these 500 rupee notes and 2,000 rupee notes, which you are seeing, have been entirely indigenously designed. The security features also have been inbuilt. So to that extent, these notes are much more, much more secure, and the possibility or the scope of counterfeiting or imitation or, counterfeiting or coming out with fake Indian currency notes, to that extent, it is far, far lower than the kind of scope which existed earlier.
Earlier in the day, the government had said old 500 rupee notes will not be acceptable from midnight tonight, with the government deciding not to extend exemptions beyond December 15th. However, they can still be deposited into banks. Demanding an immediate rollback of demonetization, TMC and CPIM both held protest rallies outside the RBI office in Kolkata.
We are protesting in front of Reserve Bank so that this illegal demonetization, illegal rationing of taking out their own money of the common people is withdrawn.
कालाधन ले आएगा विदेश से, हर आदमी को बैंक अकाउंट में 15 लाख रुपया जमा पड़ेगा। आया था एक पैसा। ये सब चीटिंगबाजी खेल है। आम आदमी का पूरा परेशान हो रहा आम आदमी को। इसके खिलाफ हम लोग।
In a related development, the Delhi High Court has postponed the hearing on the pleas seeking withdrawal of the newly introduced 2,000 rupees notes and rollback of demonetization to December 22nd. Bureau Report, Rajya TV.
And Niti Aayog on Thursday announced daily, weekly and mega awards for consumers and merchants to encourage a transition to digital payments. Now, the award scheme shall last from 25th of December this year to 14th of April next year. But the National Payment Corporation of India will implement these schemes. The government will incur 340 crore rupees for this incentivization program.
Giving a big cashless push, the Niti Aayog announced two schemes to reward both consumers and merchants for digital payments. The awards will be offered through the Lucky Grahak Yojana for consumers and the Digi Dhan Vyapari Yojana for merchants. Under the Lucky Grahak Yojana, 15,000 winners will get 1,000 rupees each day, while weekly awards with a maximum prize of 1 lakh rupees will be given to 7,000 people. On April 14th, a mega award of 1 crore rupees will be announced. Under the Digi Dhan Vyapari Yojana, 7,000 winning merchants will receive prizes worth up to 50,000 rupees every week. Awardees will be selected through a random draw of digital transaction IDs. Both schemes will cover small transactions between 50 rupees and 3,000 rupees to encourage every section of the society to move towards digital payments. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, let's move on to news from Parliament. Well, Rajya Sabha proceedings were disrupted on Thursday as the opposition and the ruling party members traded charges. The opposition parties demanded a farm loan waiver for farmers in the wake of demonetization, while the BJP accused the Congress of corruption. Well, no business could be transacted through the day as the House witnessed several adjournments yet again.
Allegations and counter-allegations marked proceedings on the penultimate day of the winter session of Parliament. The upper house saw angry exchanges between the Treasury and the opposition benches as soon after the House conducted formal business. BJP members moved to the aisles and levelled allegations of corruption against the Congress. Meanwhile, the opposition led by the Congress demanded farm loan waiver for farmers hit by weather vagaries and demonetization. Leader of the House Ghulam Nabi Azad also slammed the BJP members for disrupting proceedings of the House.
This is first time in the history of India after independence that it is the ruling parties which does not allow the House to function and which disturbs the proceedings of the House.
Launching a counter-offensive, the government refuted Azad's claims while accusing the Congress of corruption.
ये ऑनरेबल मेंबर केवल ये कह रहे हैं कि करप्शन के कुएं से कांग्रेस का एक और कंकाल निकला है, तो उस कंकाल का डीएनए क्या है? कंकाल का डीएनए करप्शन है, कंकाल का डीएनए भ्रष्टाचार है, कंकाल का डीएनए जो है वो जनधन की लूट है, तो उस पे हम लोग चर्चा चाहते हैं और हर दिन ये बात सामने आ रही है.
The sparring affected zero hour and question hour. Even in the post-lunch session, the war of words continued.
किसानों की हालत बहुत खराब है. नोटबंदी से और हालत खराब हुई. हम चाहते थे कि प्रधानमंत्री किसानों का कर्जा माफी की घोषणा करें. इससे पूरे देश के किसानों को लाभ मिलेगा.
किसान मर रहा है, उसका अनाज सड़ रहा है, उसको बोने के लिए पैसा नहीं है. इनसे कहिए कि किसानों का कर्जा माफ करें, वो आत्महत्या करने पे मजबूर हो रहा है. इसलिए 3.5 करोड़ उसका खेत में सड़ गया, बाजार में मेरे को समझ में आया.
With little signs of reconciliation, the chair adjourned the House till Friday.
The House stands adjourned till 11 a.m. on Friday, 16th December.
With inputs from Vishal Daya, Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And on the 18th day on a Thursday, Lok Sabha was disrupted due to the opposition uproar on demonetization, while repeated disruptions forced the Speaker to adjourn the House.
Would have initiated the debate.
In Lok Sabha, soon after question hour began, opposition members demanded a discussion on demonetization. Several opposition members, including those of the Congress, TMC and left parties, had given notice for adjournment on the issue. These were rejected by the Speaker. This resulted in an opposition uproar in the lower house. Question hour could not be taken up, terming the opposition's attitude disappointing. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Anand Kumar said the government had always been prepared to discuss the issue.
काले धन के खिलाफ जो नरेंद्र भाई मोदी सरकार ने संघर्ष शुरू किया है, मुहिम शुरू किया है, उसके बारे में चर्चा करने के लिए, बहस करने के लिए हम तैयार थे, तैयार है, तैयार रहेंगे, लेकिन ये लोग 20 दिन से उसको रोक के रखा है।
During 0 hour, Congress leader Mallikarjun Kharge spoke about the problems being faced by the common man due to the note ban. Congress and TMC both said they were ready for a discussion under any rule. Jitendra Reddy of the TRS said that opposition uproar was preventing him from initiating a discussion.
हम डिस्कशन के लिए तैयार हैं, डिस्कशन होना चाहिए, लोगों को तकलीफ हो गई है, सारे लोग परेशान हैं, डिस्कशन से मोदी साहब भाग रहे हैं, हाउस में नहीं आ रहे हैं, इसीलिए हम ये चाहते हैं, हम ये चाहते हैं डिस्कशन को आप लीजिए।
Without any rule, even without voting, we are prepared to go for the debate and the discussion. Today and tomorrow, 2 days are left. Debate can be continued up to tomorrow. All parties had an objection about the implementation of this particular thing. That is why my great learned friend, my senior colleague, Mr. Bhartu Mehta had initiated 193, and I also had initiated I was on the second. But we wanted a debate.
Lok Sabha has been disrupted for the last 18 days on the issue of demonetization, severely affecting work in the House. Friday is the last day of the winter session. With inputs from Ravindra Shivran and Pranav Goswami, Bureau Report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And the extension of Joint Committee of Parliament examining the land bill was reported to the Rajya Sabha on Thursday. Now, the panel has been given time till the end of the budget session next year to table its report in Parliament.
8th extension to the Joint Committee of Parliament examining the right to fair compensation and transparency in land acquisition, rehabilitation and resettlement amendment bill. The bill was referred to a 30-member committee comprising 20 Lok Sabha and 10 Rajya Sabha members in May 2015.
I beg to report that the Lok Sabha at its sitting held on the 14th of December 2016 adopted a motion extending the time for presentation of the report of the Joint Committee of the Houses on the right to fair compensation and transparency in land acquisition, rehabilitation and resettlement amendment second bill 2015 up to the last day of the budget session 2017 of Parliament.
A resolution seeking the fresh extension till the last day of the budget session 2017 was passed by a voice vote in the Lok Sabha after panel chairman Ganesh Singh of the BJP moved it on Wednesday. Among other things, the bill seeks to remove the consent clause to acquire land for 5 purposes: industrial corridors, public-private projects, rural infrastructure, affordable housing and defence. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha Television.
News from Tamil Nadu now. Well, she was already known as the Chinnamma. Now Sasikala Natarajan, later Chief Minister J. Jayalalitha's closest aide, will now replace her as the AIADMK chief. Now calling Sasikala the late leader's conscience, the ruling party says that she qualifies to be elected as the party general secretary. Now, Sasikala currently holds no official position within the AIADMK. Her appointment as the party chief means that the rules will be changed before she takes over. However, Sasikala is yet to give her consent to become the general secretary of the party. Remember, Jayalalitha was the party's general secretary from 1989 to 2016.
The true conscience of Amma Purachittalavi Amma, that is Tirumadi Chinnamma. Beloved Chinnamma is popularly called by all rank and file of the party, should become the general secretary of the party is the prayer, the request of the all world, the whole world, MJR Mandram Association.
And you will not be able to spot any liquor shops on state and national highways from 1st of April next year. Well, the Supreme Court today ordered a ban on all liquor shops on national as well as the state highways across the country. It made it clear that licenses of the existing shops will not be renewed after 31st of March next year. Well, a 3-judge bench headed by Chief Justice T.S. Thakur said that liquor shops must be at least 500 meters away from the state and national highways. The judges also ordered that liquor banners and ads ads be removed from these spots. Now, the orders have to be implemented by the Chief Secretary and police chiefs of the states. Remember, last week, the court had expressed concern over 1.5 lakh deaths every year in road accidents, most of which occurred due to drunk driving.
It's a very landmark judgment in the sense, as far as public interest is concerned, majority of the accidents are because of drunken driving. In that context, it's a very good judgment, and it might stop drivers from drinking from the national highway on the shops near the national highways. So the Supreme Court has directed all the shops to be closed from 1st of April. Otherwise, till the renewal period is there, they can run the shops.
On to some other news now. Well, the US Federal Reserve on Wednesday raised the benchmark interest rate by a quarter percentage point to between 0.5% and 0.75%. Now, the rise is aimed at improving economy with 1 month to go before President-elect Donald Trump takes office. Well, the policy setting Federal Open Market Committee voted unanimously to increase the key federal funds rate, but repeated that the world's biggest economy will require only gradual increases going forward. Well, the rate increase from the previous range of 0.25 to 0.5% is the first hike since December 2015 and only the second time since the 2008 financial crisis. Well, the interest hike is, however, unlikely to affect the Indian markets. Now, India's chief economic advisor, Arvind Subramanian, said that the country's economy was well cushioned to absorb the impact of the US Federal Reserve's rate hike because of its stronger economic growth and also record high foreign exchange reserves. Remember, RBI unexpectedly kept interest rates on hold last week, citing in part concerns that currency volatility resulting from the Fed's actions could impact India's inflation.
My own view is that on this, the Indian economy is very well cushioned to absorb the impact of that. It was anticipated. I think the RBI policy also took account of this in a very sensible way. So I think there may be some short-term things, but I think this is not something we need to worry about excessively at all.
Let's get you some more national news. Let's go nationwide. Militants robbed 11 lakh rupees from a bank in Jammu and Kashmir's Pulwama. Now, local residents retaliated by pelting stones at the police who arrived on the spot after the incident. Now, this is the third bank robbery by militants since the centre's announcement of demonetization of 500 and 1,000 rupee notes on 8th of November. Police seized 17.3 lakh rupees in a 2,000 rupees denomination from a person in Andhra Pradesh's Krishna district. The money was allegedly meant to be exchanged for a commission. Well, the accused is said to have used a police constable as a shield for the operation. He was detained during a routine check by the police as the people who wanted the money exchanged did not turn up to collect it. Three members of a family were killed and 12 others injured on Thursday when their house collapsed in Mumbai's suburban Mankhurd area. An LPG cylinder explosion is said to have caused the fire. Now, 15 people who were trapped under the debris were rushed to the hospital, where 2 were declared brought dead, while 1 succumbed to injuries during treatment. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal on Wednesday alleged that IAS officers in the city were being threatened and provoked by the PMO and Lieutenant Governor to revolt against him. This since he asked the bureaucrats to fall in line. Now, Kejriwal said that Prime Minister Narendra Modi was using Lieutenant Governor Najib Jung and the bureaucrats as pawns to take revenge against the AAP government. The Supreme Court on Wednesday held that personnel working in the Indian Air Force cannot sport a beard based on religious grounds. Well, the apex court said that the centre's decision to prohibit personnel of a particular community from sporting beards does not infringe upon the fundamental rights. The centre had said that the IAF order was in interest of cohesiveness in a combat force and it also has security implications. And in News Tonight, we'll take a very short break. Up next, we have all the international and sports news. Stay with us.
CERN is basically a technical hub, I would say, where a lot of innovation happens. There are 3 associate members now. One is Turkey, Pakistan, India. Being associate member, it opens a bigger window for India to contribute as well as take the knowledge.
Watch Eureka with Dr. Praful Kumar Behra, Associate Professor, IIT Madras, on Rajya Sabha Television. Welcome back. After the break, let's now get you international news. Well, after a previous failed attempt, evacuation of East Aleppo began today after a ceasefire was declared between Syrian government and rebels. Now, fighters and civilians had been due to leave on Wednesday, but an earlier ceasefire collapsed. Now, the Syrian regime has taken almost the entire control of the key city from rebels. Now, if successful completely, it would mark a turning point in the brutal 5-year civil war that has killed hundreds of thousands of people there. People gathering around vehicles at the Ramusa crossing point in eastern Aleppo as evacuations begin for civilians fleeing the heavy fighting. This as a new ceasefire agreement was reached overnight between Syrian government and rebels after a previous one collapsed in under 24 hours. Despite an incident of a civilian convoy coming under fire, evacuations are underway. The Red Cross and Syrian Arab Red Crescent are also helping in the operation. Apart from civilians, Russian military will also be taking out rebels from the area.
نحن عندنا هدف واحد، نحن لا نبحث عن أو لا يهمنا مصير الإرهابيين بقدر ما يهمنا مصير المدنيين. نحن بالنسبة لنا المقياس هو سلامة المدنيين وتأمين خروج آمن أو محافظة على حياتهم بكل الوسائل الممكنة.
On Wednesday morning, buses and ambulances were brought to evacuate rebel fighters and their families, only to be turned away shortly afterwards in the face of airstrikes over the rebel-held territory. 50,000 civilians remain in an area where the UN says raids by the Syrian government and its allies violate international law.
When you see this sort of intensity and bombardment into this small area in which thousands and thousands of civilians are packed, it's almost certainly a violation of international law and most probably war crimes that are being committed right now as we speak, because you cannot possibly distinguish between civilians and fighters in this way and under these circumstances when they're all packed in so close together.
The Syrian regime is on the brink of taking the entire city of Aleppo, having made sweeping gains in just over 2 weeks since its forces, backed by airstrikes, entered the enclave by ground. Rebel groups held eastern Aleppo for more than 4 years after the Arab Spring uprising. Meanwhile, demonstrations in solidarity with the people of Aleppo are taking place in cities across the world, including Hamburg in Germany, Sarajevo in Bosnia, and Rabat in Morocco. The lights of the Eiffel Tower were also dimmed on Wednesday to highlight the need to help the people of Aleppo. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Let's get you some more international news in Global Buzz. A US think tank has reported that China appears to have installed weapons, including anti-aircraft and anti-missile systems, on all 7 of the artificial islands it has built in the South China Sea. The findings come despite statements by the Chinese leadership that Beijing has no intention to militarize the islands in the strategic trade route, where territory is claimed by several other countries as well. The International Crisis Group on Thursday said that a group of Rohingya Muslims that attacked Myanmar border guards in October is headed by people with links to Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. The coordinated attacks in October, remember, killed 9 policemen and had sparked a crackdown by security forces in the Muslim-majority state. British Prime Minister Theresa May has said that she was glad the other 27 EU national leaders will meet without her after a summit on Thursday to discuss how to negotiate Britain's withdrawal from the Union. May, however, did not answer a question on whether she thought it would take up to 10 years for Britain to negotiate a new trade deal with the EU. Dozens of journalists protested on Thursday in the Sri Lankan capital of Colombo after a Navy commander assaulted a journalist earlier this month. The incident happened when journalists were covering a strike by employees of the Hambantota port. Now, Navy Commander Vice Admiral Ravindra Vijay Gunaratne was seen pushing a journalist in the video footage, but the Sri Lankan government has now set up a 3-member committee to look into the incident. Let's get you some sports news now. The Supreme Court today reserved its order on the issue of initiating contempt and perjury proceedings against BCCI President Anurag Thakur and Secretary Ajay Shirke. Now, the court said that the BCCI chief Anurag Thakur seemed to have committed perjury for making a false statement on asking the International Cricket Council to clarify whether a recommendation made by the Lodha Committee amounted to interference in the board's running. Thakur had reportedly contacted the cricket governing body in regards to the inclusion of a Controller and Auditor General member in the newly formed Apex Council of the BCCI. But the Apex Court also said that BCCI was obstructing the reforms recommended by the Lodha panel, which were accepted by the court. Well, the court gave board 1 week to suggest names of potential administrators who can run the day-to-day affairs after BCCI raised a serious objection on the name of ex-Home Secretary G.K. Pillai for appointment as the administrator of the board.
I believe some arguments went on about Mr. Anurag Thakur's affidavit also, but no order has been passed.
रिकमेंडेशन पे इम्प्लीमेंट के लिए जब सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने 18 जुलाई को आदेश ऐतिहासिक फैसला दिया था, उसे आज तक बोर्ड मानने से इनकार करते रहा, जो आज उनको एक अच्छी सबक मिल गई है। और मुझे उम्मीद है कि अब बीसीसीआई में 3 पैनल जी.के. पिल्लई साहब हो, 2 और जो हो, कोर्ट अपने अगले आदेश से देगा।
Let's take a look at some sporting action off court. Here is the sports beat. India entered the semi-finals of the Men's Junior Hockey World Cup tournament after defeating Spain 2-1 in the quarter-final in Lucknow. Trailing 0-1 at half-time, the hosts levelled through Simranjeet Singh in 57th minute before Harmanpreet Singh scored a winner with a penalty corner. India will face Australia in the semi-finals. Shuttler PV Sindhu lost to Chinese Yu Sun in the second group match of the World Super Series finals in Dubai today. Sindhu lost 21-15, 21-17 in a tightly contested match. In her opening game on Wednesday, Sindhu had defeated Akane Yamaguchi of Japan. The Olympic silver medalist is placed in Group B alongside Sun, Yamaguchi and Carolina Marin. Only the top 8 ranked players in the Dubai rankings qualify for this tournament. England's fast bowler James Anderson has been ruled out of the 5th and the final test against India due to a body soreness. Now, the pacer had been out since August with a shoulder injury before returning to play in the second test match of the 5-match series in India. Well, the final test will be placed in Chennai starting 16th of December. And in the English Premier League, Chelsea extended their winning run to 10th game as Cesc Fabregas' goal earned the Blues a 1-0 win over Sunderland on Wednesday, where with the win, Chelsea surged 6 points clear at the top, ahead of Liverpool and Arsenal. Well, that's it from this team in this edition of News. Thanks for watching. Good night.